Um, no, hello, BDK. We used to always try and do lives. But the last couple of lives we did, whenever we talked over each other, YouTube would cancel out the sound, and it would
Sound
sound,
like shite there, buddy. That's
like shite. So yeah,
sound
we're
like
live
shite.
now.
But we're doing it. We're back on. We're back
We're
on
gonna
the.
try and keep going. But if we talk over each other and it sounds like shite, it's actually got nothing to do with us and everything to do with YouTube.
Well, it's not YouTube. I think my theory is it's Zoom. Zoom YouTube
Oh,
integration.
okay. Yeah,
The
it's both of
Zoom
them. Fuck it.
YouTube API. If you want to get technical.
No, I don't. I don't need it like computer things mansplained to me. So I
I'm
just
gonna
don't want to
mansplain
know.
to you about computers. They make your life easier. You can run programs on them. There's a thing called the internet.
The internet. I,
Internet.
I always say I would never go back to life before the internet. I was the last generation who grew up without the internet, and when
Internet.
I got it when I was 15, I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Did you ever wank to porn back then, like with a dial-up modem?
Yeah,
Was it very slow? Did you slow wank?
I loved that. Ba-dum, ba-dum.
I hated it because
I
it
love that
was every
noise.
time I'd be at like the rabbi's house and he'd be sleeping and I'd just be in his office. Or usually the computer's actually in the,
Whacking off.
trying to, but it's like his connection was so shitty. It'd just be like you'd see the image would download, and you'd see just about titties. Stop.
Was titties not enough back then? You were a young man.
It wouldn't
Could
even
you
be
not
the
whack
top.
it to anything?
It'd be cleavage. And then sometimes it would go down past the titties. I'm like, I got titties. And then it's just right before they showed vag.
Right before they showed the dick. And it was
Oh.
a lady boy.
Yeah, I never knew. That's the thing. It was, the uncertainty. I didn't know for sure if that was a woman or a man.
And you'll never know. But you
Yeah, but
definitely whacked off onto a Poison t-shirt, which is pretty gay.
but what would have happened if I'd ejaculated and then the rest of the image popped up and she had a dick? Would then I be gay?
Uh, kind of gay, yeah.
I think I would be, and then there's no turning back. So
Is that what
very
happened to Harrison?
he was whacking off to a dial-up modem, and he thought it was a chick, and then he finished, he ejaculated, and then the rest of the image loaded, and it had a huge uncircumcised penis, and then he's like, I guess I'm pansexual now.
Pansexual.
It was just this cock on a pan.
That's what I always think when people say that they're pansexual. I just think you
They're into
fancy a
pan.
you like a
Got
pan.
so mad when I'd bring that up. Even though it's a
What?
stupid joke, he just thought it was so. He just would be so irritated. It's really funny.
Bless. Bless him.
Like the way you jizz in pants. No, I don't. I don't jizz in pants. That's not what it means. And I know you're being cute and funny, but it's not funny.
I bet he has jizzed in a pan before. I bet he
He probably fried it up.
yeah, like the cooking with semen guy. Hello, Christopher Siege, if you're listening. He was talking about that because I was asking it.
He cooks up his own semen.
No, I was asking
Disgusting.
everyone on the Patreon how they discovered the show and like what the first episodes they listened to.
The
And
cooking with cum guy.
yeah, and Such says that he had to turn it off when the guy said that he came in the pan and then he scrambled it up like it was eggs and he turned it off. Still listens to the show though.
I love how that guy like I don't know. I mean, whatever. I interviewed him, and then like a few months later, or no, it was probably about a year later or so. He like contacted me because he came out with a making cum cocktails, like a mixology book, but with cum.
Come
Which I
tails.
think I might have suggested that in the interview. But anyway, he came out with this. It was a mixology recipe book with cum, and so he was like a pretty high paid nurse at a hospital of that had a decent reputation. So he couldn't be very open about this. So he published under a pseudonym. Everything was like under a different name. But he was approached by that show Doctors. That primetime show Doctors.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah, I've heard of
show.
doctors.
Yeah, and so they wanted him to come on, but he didn't want to come on because then everyone would see him. So he asked me if I would do it, and say I was as somebody who he interviewed on my show, and I'm a big fan of the guys, and I would come on and just be like I'm a good friend of his and do the interview. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I could pitch Sick and Wrong. It's a daytime talk show audience, probably a ton of people. So I'm like, sure. And so a producer called me up and she was like, okay, well, he can't do it, but we're thinking you might be the next best thing. We'll interview you, we'll talk about the podcast and all that. And then you'll make one of his drinks. And I was like, oh, you mean a recipe for one? He's like, yeah. She's like, but you can just bring the semen like later and just kind of put it in the drink. I was like, oh, wait, you want me to drink the drink on the air? She's like, of course. Like, I'm not going to do that. She's like, why wouldn't you do that? She's like, well, what's the point of having you on if you're not going to drink one of the drinks?
Well, why didn't you make up some fake semen? Make up some like sugar water and just I don't know, put some flour in it, shake
I
and
don't know. They
sugar.
wanted real jizz. I didn't know. What if they
You can make
tested
anything
it?
look like jizz. You can make it like icing sugar and pretend it's
But regardless, though, I don't know if I want to be on national television just like drinking my
drinking
own
jizz.
jizz. Like, I didn't think that. I don't mind talking about interviewing a guy who drinks his jizz. I just don't want to be known as the guy who drinks his jizz. Although maybe it would have been for the best. Maybe we would have had a bigger Patreon.
Yeah, a jizz drinker. Everyone would be like, "What does your husband do?" Like, he drinks
I know you.
jizz.
I've seen you
Dude,
on TV.
that's
You
the jizz
guy who
drinker.
drinks his cum.
You could put it on your CV. That would have been great.
Didn't do it. I didn't do it, K Rambo. All right, should we
Shame.
get going here? You ready?
Yeah, this is gonna
Got
be.
the
I'm
picture.
very excited for this one. I have the pictures. Let me double check that.
Ah,
There they are.
yes. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus,
Oh,
wrong,
nice.
wrong tube.
Gross. Is that what was it supposed to go down the cum tube?
That went down the cum tube, unfortunately. All right. Good evening. Welcome to Sick and Wrong, the world source for antisocial commentary. I'm your host, E. Simon.
Hello, comrades. I am Kate Rambo.
Okay, Rambo, you're on a
Yes.
work-related injury holiday right now. How's that going for you? How's that work?
Yeah, well, nobody wants to get injured at work, but I have been, and now I'm off recuperating.
Is it a real injury or a fake injury? Like, are
No,
you gaming the system?
no, it's a real fucking injury. My work has injured me through to their negligence and lack of duty to care. And every day, I don't know if it's because now I'm obviously half Jewish. I have a Jewish family. I'm also like, I am kind of half American now. I don't know if that's influencing me, but just in the back of my mind, there's just a little voice going, sue them, sue them.
Yeah, but could you though? Because I thought you said you exacerbated through chronic wanking. Like I thought you might be partly at blame.
Luckily, it is not my wanking arm. It's my other arm. It's not my wanking arm.
I thought, okay, we discussed this in detail in the second show. And long story short, I don't want to really go into too many details. You can go listen to it over there. Kate tried to mod out her Hitachi magic wand, and it didn't entirely work out as planned. And now she's got a 2 week holiday.
So that same voice that is telling me to sue my workplace because they've obviously hurt me for their negligence is now telling me to sue you for slander.
We're not going to
Sue
get much money.
him.
I don't know if you've seen our Patreon recently. So, um,
I'll find your shekels, dude. It will be mine.
well, I'm jealous that you get a 2 week holiday. I do not think that would happen in this country unless you were like severely injured as a result of like gross workplace negligence. But I should do that because I had to go back to the fucking office this week. Sucks. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was like an eventuality. Everyone's going to have to return to the office, but they keep saying it's going to be a hybrid work type situation. Some people are going to go in like 2 days a week. Some people 3 days a week. Some people might even be full time remote. So I had to go in 2 days a week. I went in Tuesday, Wednesday last week, and yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Waking up early, commuting during rush hour traffic, having to put on pants. Haven't done that in a long time, you know?
Hey.
And the worst thing, the worst part about the whole thing is you're seeing all your coworkers again, you're seeing your managers again, and they all want to like organize team building activities because we haven't been able to do any of that for the past 2 years.
Absolutely sod that. Sod it.
It's the worst. But now it's like, in this remote work environment, they kind of feel that everybody's alienated and they're socially distant from each other. And then we've had a lot of new people start the past couple of years, so we haven't even met in person. So all the managers are like looking for suggestions. Like we had a meeting with our team on Wednesday, and she was like, "So what do you think we should do? Like just a team building thing, just to really get to know each other." And so some people are like, "How about bowling?" And some people like bowling. Other people were saying happy hour, but I guess we're not supposed to drink.
I love bowling, but I don't want to go bowling with my work colleagues. I want to go bowling with my friends. I don't want to do anything with my work colleagues.
No, I don't mind
No.
working with them because I have to. But it's like I don't want to go hang out an extracurricular activity with them on my own
No.
time. Someone suggested roller skating.
What about I can't roller skate? Fucko. I'm not learning now.
There's this new project manager whom I'm not particularly fond of, this guy named Jamie. Jamie said, "How about we all go to the Renaissance Fair? The Ren Fair. It's happening right now."
Jamie should fuck off and die.
Oh God. It's like I looked at the guy like I was like staring, like as if my eyes could shoot Zyklon B like through Zoom. They would have. I was just looking at this guy like, the fuck are you talking about? The fucking Ren Fair. Like as if we're gonna like what put on outfits, like I'm gonna put on a little fucking minstrel outfit or whatever, or what I don't know, the fucking Joker outfit and go over there and like go to the fucking Ren Fair.
The Renaissance Day. Minstrels,
Fair,
the
whatever.
Joker, were they around during the Renaissance?
Jester, court jester. That's what I
There you
meant.
go. You'll put on some tights and then you'll go and like probably be racist and throw some rotten tomatoes at people. I wonder
Yeah,
if
I'm
they
not
do that
going.
now.
I'm never going to that. I've had to endure it once. It was hell. It's also fucking hot as fuck because it's like outside in like the desert of LA, like in the suburbs.
You know what
And so
I would do if I ever went to the Ren Fair? I would like bury my clothes with like a load of rotten fish in the ground for about 6, 7 months. Maybe then ask like tramps to piss on my clothes. And then I would go to the Ren Fair and I'd be the only historically accurate one there.
you'd
Because
probably be the
it's
only
hot
person.
babes. It's hot
Yeah, but
babes in corsets, isn't it?
you'd, you'd probably be the only person who actually smells decent. I've been to it.
Hey.
It sucks. Like all these smells of rotting meat on sticks, like turkey legs on sticks and BO because it's so fucking hot. And so, yeah, I guess it's going on from now till the end of May. And this guy's, we could do a half day on Friday and head out there. And it's like, I was just looking at this guy like, would you shut the fuck up? I was enraged. And believe it or not, people actually thought it was a good idea. Like my
I'm not
manager's like,
doing it.
great idea, Jamie. There's no way I'm going to do that. And she came around. She was asking people, what do you think, David? And I looked at her. I was just like, hard pass, hard pass. I'm not going to the Renaissance Fair. Seriously, there's no conceivable way of that happening unless it's like a weekend at Bernie's type situation. And obviously, I'll be Bernie. And then I
Yeah.
don't.
I would
Yeah.
never do this. I would be sick that day. Sick with like I'd have the RIA. I can't go.
Do they even have Renaissance fairs in England? Because your country's kind of like one big massive Ren fair.
No, exactly. We lived through it. We don't need to fucking have pleasant memories of it, of what it was like, because it wasn't fucking pleasant. It was an awful time to be alive.
Yeah, what was the lifespan? Like 28?
Probably like 22. Everyone was poor. Everyone died young. Nobody could brush their teeth. Fuck it.
I'll tell you one thing, Kate Rambo. I'm morally opposed to Ren fairs
So am
and
I.
to this whole resurgence here of Dungeons and Dragons culture. I'm morally opposed.
Well,
After,
I mean, I don't know anything about. We've talked about Dungeons and Dragons before.
well, you kind of missed that. You're too young. I
Thankfully,
was actually. I remember I was a kid. And my brother was super into it. My brother's like a dungeon master. He was like into
Mm,
it, and
he's
he'd
still
always
a
try to get me
dungeon
to
master, is
play.
he?
And I don't know. I was probably what 10 or 11 at the time, and I just hated it. I thought it was boring. I also couldn't get into it. Like I remember I made a character. He found one of my characters I made. His name was like I don't know. It was like Herschel
Stinker.
Mos. No, it was Herschel Moskovitz, and he was like an accountant. It was just like the lamest character. And I think I did it on purpose because I was like, this game is shit. And I just don't want to play it. But you know what? Whatever. People can go play, these games. I don't really care. But I want people to know one thing that they're racist. This guy, Jamie, this project manager who suggested Ren Fair, also runs his own Dungeons and Dragons group.
So he's racist.
Well, he was talking about it. And he was saying like, we have the best time. Like you guys can come and join up, and you can be part of the Dungeons and Dragons group. And I was even hating him even more after he said that. But I was thinking about it. This guy's a racist. And all the people that play Dungeons and Dragons are racist. Hear me out on this. I would say nowadays, like in recent culture, yeah, this is RPGs or tabletop gaming, as it's called, are almost like as popular, even maybe even more popular now than it was in the 80s. But in the 80s, it was kind of like this. This is from an Apatow movie. But it kind of, this
No,
is
this is from
what,
Freaks and Geeks, which was his telly show,
oh,
which is a really,
okay,
really
okay.
good telly show, I must say. And this is like on the last episode.
But this is kind of what you like. Traditionally, you envision a Dungeons and Dragons group to look like, and it was like that in the '80s. And I think a lot of people, it wasn't. I mean, just wasn't just only played by nerdy kids. A lot of people went through this RPG like Dungeons and Dragons phase, but the real nerds were into it, and they played every weekend with their friends. But now it's become this like nerd couture thing. It's fashionable. It's fashionable to be geeky. Look at Comic Con. Look at cosplay. You look at Marvel movies. It's cool to be nerdy. Ryan Keeley, friend of mine, she's kind of nerdy actually, and she has this Dungeons and Dragons group of hot porn chicks, and they all wear sexy outfits, and they sit around, they play D&D. And this girl here, Satine Phoenix, who actually know her from back in the strip club days, like way back when, but she's kind of like made a whole career out of being like a Dungeons and Dragons master, you know. And she has her own like group that plays, and I think they like travel around the world. Like they did a Dungeons and Dragons thing in a castle in England recently.
Oh, making all the money. Why not?
Yeah. Like, but and it's like she's made a whole brand out of it. But you look at the table of it; it's a far cry from the nerds in the previous picture.
Oh,
Now it's a
yeah.
thing. Now it's fashionable. Now there's like sexy women playing Dungeons and Dragons, dressing up as like I don't know what elves, I guess, and fairies, and I don't know what
They're
is
dressing as their characters, aren't they,
Shania
that they've
Twain there on the
created?
right. I don't know what's going on back there. Um, but yeah, but I'm morally opposed to Dungeons and Dragons. I'm morally opposed to this revival that's been going on for the past few years, and the reason being, Dungeons and Dragons is racist, people. It's been racist since the origin of the game, and I know they're trying to make some changes. Doesn't matter, still racist. And a lot of people don't want to accept it. A lot of people don't want to like admit to themselves that what they're doing with their friends is perpetuating racist stereotypes, but they are. And the reason I know this is because Varg Vikernes, I don't know what he's like I don't know, one of the more famous white supremacists in the world, Norwegian black metal musician from a black metal band called Burzum. He's probably notorious for burning down historic churches and murdering Euronymous from the band Mayhem in the early 90s. I think nowadays he's a survivalist and a white supremacist, a neo pagan. And he released his own role playing game, his own tabletop game called My Farag, Mythic Fantasy Role Playing Game.
I like him. I like Bob.
Not
Just putting it
surprised.
out there. I've always liked
But
him.
people, before we get into this, the Varg's racist RPG and the racism behind Dungeons and Dragons, I just want to really quickly thank all the new patrons who signed up this month. I'm
Yeah.
actually kind of blown away. But me and Kate were talking about it, like, holy shit, it's probably one of the better months we've had in a while, and we appreciate it. We appreciate people supporting us on the show, signing up. We got a lot of extra content on there these days. Um, so anyway, we appreciate it. So here's a quick promo about our Patreon page, and then we'll get back into Dungeons and Discrimination.
That title.
That's great. It's good. It's catchy. So Varg is selling an RPG called My Farag. It actually came out like I don't know 5 or 6 years ago, but he's released like subsequently like probably 12 different editions, maybe 6 editions and like 6 other companion books to it. But it was invented and written entirely by Varg Vikernes, and it bills itself as a role playing game based on European values, geography, prehistory, mythology, traditions, and morals that will offer you the opportunity to play a game in accordance with your own European nature. A
Okay.
picture here of Varg, just so people can see what he looks like. So here's Varg with his well actually this is there he is. That's Varg back in the Burzum days.
Back in the day, back when his scar was still fresh.
Yeah, look how fearsome he looks. So intimidating. It's about as intimidating as the kids playing Dungeons and Dragons in that
You
Apatow
leave
game.
Varg alone. I like Varg.
He looked like I had a roommate in college who looked just like him, but he was like the roommate in college was just really into fish.
The
And
band.
yeah, he was into fish and Grateful
Oh,
Dead. He was a total hippie.
how
Looked just
awful.
like Varg though. If he wore like this leathers and got a what is that, a mace? He looked just like him.
No, a mace is the ball, isn't it? The ball
What's
with the
that?
spikes. That's
Club?
just like a stick with some spikes coming out of it.
All right, baseball bat. Um, the game, my Ferric, is very similar to Dungeons and Dragons, and except it explicitly espouses white supremacist beliefs held by its creator. Apparently, now I'm kind of like extrapolating here, but from what I've read about the game, this is pretty much every mission. Players have to defend themselves against the evil and greedy Jews who are looking to take over white pagan civilization and steal their shekels, which
It's true.
Jews tend to do. Varg said he designed the game as a teaching tool for his son, which I got to say is a bit concerning, just a tad concerning. But I imagine it's a teaching aid in all the whites only elementary schools across Scandinavia.
I would
So,
agree with that.
okay, Rambo, for all those who aren't acquainted with Varg Vikernes, who probably didn't listen to Burzum, uh, give, give us some history, a brief roundup here on Varg.
I knocked this together. So Varg, who also goes by the name of Count Grishnak, Louis Cachet, Graven, the Count, the Glen. He's got many more names. Also didn't begin life as a Varg. He was born February the 11th, 1973. So he's an Aquarius, which I think is about 80% of the reason why I like him. He was born in Bergen, Norway, and he was actually Christian Vikernes, and it soon became apparent later why we would drop his Christ-like name. So, as Varg's childhood, there actually doesn't exist a proper biography of him. There's no authorized one or unauthorized one. He's let out snippets in his official website, burzum.org. I read all of them, and in interviews like those for like the Lords of Chaos book, which I'm kind of assuming everyone here has read or you've seen the movie. I am going to say his name wrong. Michael Moynihan.
Yeah, Moynihan.
Yay, one good for me. One of the authors of Lords of Chaos, he's been described as quite active in the propaganda support network for Vikernes, and Burzum.org, on the other hand, it's not been noted at all by secondary sources. So it's Varg's words or it's not. You just got to kind of print the myth here, or Varg is letting you print the myth. In the interviews printed in Lords of Chaos, he talks a lot about his background and his childhood. There's even an interview with his mother, Lena Bohr, is included. In the 2004 interview, Varg mentions she is working in a large oil company. He also gives his father's profession as an electronics engineer, whereas his brother is 1.5 years older, is a graduate civil engineer. So there's money in this family.
I
He's
wonder how close they are.
it's again, it's very hard to find out stuff about Varg. He's got this mystery about him, which I enjoy. In another interview for Lords of Chaos, he recalls an incident from his childhood when he was 6 years old. The family moved for a year to Baghdad in Iraq because his father was working for Saddam Hussein, developing a computer program. Since there was
Whoa.
no places available in the English school in Baghdad, Varg went to an Iraqi elementary school during this time. And according to his interview, this is when he first became aware of racial matters. Corporal punishment was not uncommon in the school, and on one occasion, he had a quarrel with a teacher and called him a monkey. But as Varg perceived it, the teachers didn't dare to hit him because he was white.
God, he was that racist. At what age was he? Like seven,
Six.
7? God.
Varg's mother also recalls how they spent a year in Iraq and that the other children in his class would get slapped by their teachers, but he would not. She mentions that this created problems, but generally she has no good explanation of how Varg developed his controversial and very resilient views. They moved back to Norway, and when he was a teenager, he said that him and his RPG friends would sometimes take wooden clubs, spears, and swords, and they went out into the countryside to fight each other. We had no other purpose than to fight because it was fun, and we didn't try to hurt each other. We never tried to hit the head of our opponents or other vulnerable areas, like where the man's brain is located, and we didn't use much force. We still sometimes hurt each other by accident, and the fighting never stopped until at least one of us was bleeding, most often from the fingers or knuckles, and each one of us had enough pain for the day. So they're laughing. Roger's a larper.
They were pretty much just LARPing and injuring each other in the woods.
It's like jackass larping.
But well, they were into metal though at this point.
Yeah, he was. He got into music. I'm going to get into his music side. If you do have the time and the inclination to delve into the chaos that is the Burzum bio, like I did, there are some treasures to be gleaned amongst it, such as this quote by the man himself, and this is about his teenage inspirations. I grew up reading the traditional Scandinavian fairy tales where the pagan gods are presented as evil creatures, as trolls and goblins. And we all know how the Inquisition turned Freya into Satan. Tolkien was no better. He had turned Odin into Sauron and my pagan forefathers into the fighting Uruk-hai. To me, the dark forces attacking Gondor were like the Vikings attacking Charlemagne's Christian France. The dark forces attacking Rohan were like the Vikings attacking the Christian in England. And I may add, the Vikings eventually lost their war as well, just like Sauron and the Orcs did. And I didn't mind supporting the losing part. I've always believed in doing what is right, regardless of the consequences. And if I was fighting for a lost cause, it didn't matter. I would rather die fighting for what I believe in than live for anything else.
I'm not so sure the orcs were based on white Vikings.
We'll get into that, I feel. So his whole childhood has been around is based around RPGs and D&D and other such fantasy role-playing games. When he was 14, he began playing the guitar. He was good at it as a natural musician. He was in a few bands, but by 17, he was playing with a band called Old Funeral, who went from techno trash to boring death metal. That's Varg's words. That time, he left to pursue his own music. The idea with Burzum was not to make original and personal music, but to create something new, a darkness in the far too light, safe, and boring world. Unlike 99% of all musicians, he didn't play music to become famous, earn money, and get laid. He had no interest in either fame nor money. And he had a very naive and romantic view on women at the time, almost medieval view on women. He had nothing but contempt for the brain dead sex, drugs, rock and roll attitude of the other metal people surrounding him. Instead, his motivation was a wish to experiment with magic and try to create an alternative reality by the use of magic. So this is where Burzum comes into.
I gotta say, black metal was pretty nerdy. I mean, in terms of musical
So
genre,
nerdy.
it was rather nerdy.
I mean, I love Venom, but they're nerds.
But like, think about it. Like, you had Slayer, and then you had this. At least Venom. Those guys were partying. They were doing drugs. They
Well,
were
they're Geordies.
yeah. No, they were
Yeah.
they were like rock stars. What these guys were doing were LARPing out in the woods with their like weapons and putting on their armor, and then their face paint. Nerds.
Nerds. There is some evidence that Varg was involved with the skinhead scene in Bergen because he became a part of the black metal scene. Goodrick Clark introduces Burzum as the music vehicle of the ex skinhead Vikernes.
I wouldn't say X.
Not anymore. Well, maybe he had a shaved head at the time. We don't know.
Okay, yeah. And I guess he grew his hair long, so.
Because he wanted to remain anonymous, he chose a stage name, D. Simon, and it was Count Grishnak, and he used weird photos of himself as the Burzum promo, so he looked even weirder and more magical. And it was during this time that his real name was mentioned in the press, and he didn't want Burzum to be connected to Christ in any way, so he did what any black metal kid would do, and he legally changed his name to Varg. During 92 to 93, he recorded 4 albums as Burzum that played a key role in the development of black metal, and he's playing fucking every instrument on them.
Well, it's mostly, I mean, I guess it is interesting the evolution of these records because some of the records eventually just became like they're just like it almost sounded like Ghosts and Goblins music
Yeah,
for an game. But the first, I would say 2 Burzum records are phenomenal. They're so heavy.
they're heavy. He
They're
is
so
heavy.
aggressive. It's yeah, and so lo-fi. Like compared to you were listening to like something like Bathory or Slayer or something.
Yeah.
It's like Burzum was just like toned it down to its basic elements. Yeah, great. Those two records are great.
It was during this time that he met Euronymous. We're not going to go much into that. And a few years later, in August of '93, he would actually murder a Euronymous in a very much a he said, she said bullshit kind of story. You can read Varg's full account on burzum.org. But I'll give a couple of sentences to Varg, who justified the killing of his former friend and bandmate, as this. He had showed his intention to kill me, and even though he was no longer a direct threat to me there and then, I did not feel any bad for killing him. His cowardice had made me angry, and I saw no reason to let him live. Not when he showed his intent to kill me. Had I let him live, I would only have let him have another attempt at my life later on.
Yeah, that just shows you his skewed logic. Ubermensch. The guy thinks he's like superior to other people. No, he went and
Euronymous,
murdered the guy in cold blood on a fucking staircase.
if
Yeah, and
he hadn't
he did it in Norway.
if he hadn't have killed Euronymous, somebody else would have killed Euronymous because Euronymous was a fucking little bit of a wanker and he screwed over a lot of people. He'd been in
That's
and
good.
out of jail that year alone. Euronymous was gonna die.
I love how he. I love the other thing too. Like in Varg's full account, like it wasn't about money. It was about money.
He was sentenced to 21 years in prison, the maximum penalty under Norwegian law. And during this sentence, he founded the Allgemersky Heimliche Front. I try my best. AHF. It's an international neo Nazi organization which was based on the writing of Varg's first book, Vargschmal, which was released in 1994, shortly after he'd been arrested for, the church burnings and the murder of his former mate. Varg denies that he started this group, but I can totally see it happening. And he was
Cool.
just like the mythical figure at the top.
Oh, he's
In
got a messianic complex. This guy.
Yeah. In 2009, he was paroled. He moved to France with his wife, Marie Cachet, and they started pumping out the mini Vargs. I think they actually have about 10 children now.
Wow, really? God, that's crazy.
He continued to write and release music, and he also had an iconic YouTube channel, which I was subscribed to, the Ferulian Perspective, with his catchy "Let's Find Out" intro. Was deleted off YouTube, and now it's re-uploads of his thinkings and teachings. So you can find all that there still. He's also on Twitter. He's written tons of books of his teachings and maybe his like white agenda. I'm not saying you're a white nationalist, Varg, I promise. He's also done his RPG game, and you can follow him and his wife on Twitter, where Christianity is their main enemy. They spend their days building up their farm, tending to their livestock and children, and they're basically waiting for the upcoming fall of society where they will survive and we're all going to die.
Yeah, no, he's preparing for the race war. He's like a total
Oh, yeah.
survivalist now. And I'm sure his kids, they probably homeschool them, their racist
Yep.
beliefs. Yeah, I'm not surprised. But then, like, he's like a full-on like survivalist. I bet you his entire like home and farm is just like booby trapped. They probably don't let Jews or Jehovah's Witnesses come anywhere near it.
He would never come on the show because of you, and that's a shame.
Doubt it.
I would like to talk to
Big loss there.
Varg.
Um, but yeah, you were saying, I mean, Varg was into RPGs. He was into fantasy. I'd almost say he was into it a bit too much. But he became obsessed with his like pagan beliefs, and that's why he started burning down these like historic churches, like historic landmarks, because he felt that that's what the Christians did to the pagans, which is kind of true in a sense.
It is.
But
And plus,
Burz,
don't forget, there is a deeper level to that as well, because Christianity is only relatively new to Scandinavia. It was never the natural like religion of
no,
Scandinavia.
they believe in the pagan gods, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And then they came over and they stole a lot of their beliefs and just sort of repackaged them as Easter.
So I can understand the church burnings.
Yeah, but at the same time, in their historic landmarks, I don't know if you should go burn down a fucking church just because you disagree with history. There's a lot of
Making
things
a,
in history, a lot of things that the Vikings did in history, and the pagans did that were terrible.
he's making a statement, and like, who hasn't at the age of 19 wanted to burn a church down when you're a goth
I understand
listening
that.
to Slayer?
I get it. I mean, who hadn't thought about it? Who hadn't fantasized about it? Not too many people have actually done it,
Good for him.
or murdered their former friend. Now, the guy's warped. Um,
I like him.
I think he's an asshole. I think he's an arrogant prick, neo-Nazi cunt. However, those first two records, those first two Burzum records, I still listen to. They're great. So that's one thing. But yeah, it is funny though. He's very lighthearted in his videos, as you know, the clip that we
He's
played in the show.
he's a very affable man. I think that's part of his like kind of why I like him. He is affable. He's got a charm
Like
about
a lot of
him.
Nazis were though. A lot of Nazis are very charming. A lot of Nazis had charisma.
They did.
Meanwhile, they're just like talking about exterminating races. But that being said, Varg said that Burzum was very influenced by role playing games as by music. And these games not only influenced the mood, lyrics, and theme of Burzum, but it also helped him develop his own RPG later on in life. So some of the games that he played that he felt were influences were like Rune Quest, Dungeons and Dragons, Warhammer, Twilight 2000, Middle Earth role playing,
Oh
Roll
wow.
Master. I don't even know any of these games, but
I
yeah,
don't even.
some of the people in our audience might. But he took inspiration from like the old school hardcore tabletop games mixed with his own neo-pagan Norse fantastic white supremacist views. You know, so but the thing is with Varg, despite how you feel about Varg and his neo-pagan white pride, his racism and his racist RPG is not original. It's not like he came up with these, these racist caricatures. It's not like he was the first person to ever have racism in his tabletop game or his work of, fantasy fiction. Fantasy fiction RPGs have been racist since their very origin.
Oh wow.
I mean, you think about it. Is it a coincidence? Coincidence that Dungeons and Dragons, have their dark-skinned elves that come from a matriarchal society? Isn't that weird? And the dark-skinned elves, I think they're called the Drow, are supposed to be evil because they're reared in a matriarchy. And you look at their dark skin compared to the white elves who are virtuous and magical creatures who are lawful. You look at the savage orcs that look uncannily like the barbaric people from the uncivilized world in Africa, in the Middle East. I mean, you look at so there's an orc, this huge creature, and there is a dark elf just looking evil.
I've
But
never
it's
played
funny.
Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't know it had its own like characters
Oh,
like
no,
that.
its own races of people. And I think correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know about now because I haven't played in a long time, but some of these characters were non-playable characters. I think you could, I don't know if you could be an orc. I'm not sure actually. I think you can be a dark elf. You probably can now. But these concepts of like evil races, description of orcs and half orcs that mirror racist stereotypes, and the concept of like a racial disadvantage based on the color of these character skins, they don't seem to make as much sense in like a modern context anymore. And so
Yeah.
you see like, the creators of Dungeons and Dragons kind of backpedaling and trying to like issue versions now that don't have evil races. Like there's no chaotic races. People are chaotic, because race is a societal construct. It's not like these characters were born evil just because the color of their skin. So they're trying to kind of revise the additions of the game. But the racist history of fantasy fiction, including RPGs, has its roots in our fascination with medieval European history. I was reading an article about this in Wired. So this woman here, Kavita Mudan Finn, is a first generation Indian American, and she's a scholar of medieval and early modern European history. And she's saying it reaches back to a misplaced imaginary nostalgia for a golden age where everyone was in their place. And most importantly, they're happy to be there. And so it's kind of steeped in a colonialist, highly racist culture and ideology, like a classist type culture. And I think
Completely.
Varg yearns for this time
Well,
when
yeah,
there were
because he's
higher white beings that were above these other dark inferior races.
well, it's also paganism, isn't it, as well?
I mean, in a sense, I mean, the paganists kind of had their own belief system and their own. They worshiped like the natural gods and nature and things like that. They didn't actually have like a church and these like rigid structures and ceremonial beliefs that we had. It was kind of more
Yes.
natural.
Yeah, no, but they still had ceremonial beliefs where they would gather
Yeah,
in the stone circle and someone was going to be murdered for a god. Like they still did stuff like
they
that.
still
Women
believe
were
it.
still second class citizens.
But what's popular fantasy today is kind of linked to this idea of medievalism that came out of the 19th and 20th centuries. and the social and cultural values of that time. So heroism, the heroes, the heroes of that literature, I'm thinking of Tolkien here, it was associated with masculinity and whiteness.
Knights of the Round Table, Lancelot.
The Round Table too. I mean, to look at Tolkien, on one hand, he did speak out against the Nazi race doctrine, and they say his work is multicultural, but his stories are steeped in this like Eurocentric bias.
I also hate how in all the Lord of the Rings films they've made all the orcs Cockneys. As a Cockney, I was born with the bows and the bells of London town. I find it racist against my people.
But I think that was intentional because you look at the orcs, they're all like swarthy and like sallow skinned. And what if they gave them like an Arabic accent or
In
like or an African accent? Don't you think it would have been even like way more racist? I think they're like, all right, we're gonna try to like, tone down the racism here. Let's give them a Cockney accent, okay? So they sound white.
all orcs are always Cockneys now. We need to like stop this racism against Cockneys. What have we ever done? There's only like 20 of us. Leave us alone.
But even in like Middle Earth, you look at like the other races that are part of the forces of good. How many black people were there?
Uh, oh my god, I've never read Lord of the
How
Rings.
many
I've read The
Asians
Hobbit, but
were
I'm
part of like
gathering
the Fellowship of the Ring? No, it was
none.
sure there were dwarves, sure there were elves, but they were all fair skinned, you know. While the forces of evil, dark skinned, except for Saruman, he was like a white wizard. But yeah, they're look at that. That's what the orcs look
My
like.
dudes.
Greenish there, but like the Uruk-hai were like dark skinned. And then you look at like Robert E. Howard, who wrote Conan. Conan is a white hero, strong, self sufficient, honest to an extent, abiding by his own code of honor. But his dual identity of being a savage, because he was a savage, he was a barbarian, but he was a white savage, made made more sense to people, made it more appealing to a lot of people, made it more like a figure to admire rather than to be frightened of.
D. Ask me what is best in life.
Oh, I know this, the Conan quote.
Ask me.
What is best in life?
To crush your enemies, to hear them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. I was trying to do it in a Schwarzenegger in my head. It was.
Kay Rambo says this every morning in the mirror.
Yeah, I do. Why? It's a great fucking quote. It's the best part of the film.
So when fantasy kind of blew up in the 60s and 70s, we had all those, the Conan movies and Dungeons and Dragons came out in the late 70s. What was produced was, it emulated Tolkien. And also, like, Howard, look at Frank, Frazetta. Like his
Oh
paintings
yeah,
made out of like a Conan comic book.
I love
And
his
like the
artwork.
early sword and sorcery stories. So this 19th century racism that founded this genre, is still being perpetuated today. I mean, it's still like you look at look at the women, the female characters in Dungeons and Dragons. I know they're changing it. I know they're trying to revise it, but for the past 5 decades of people playing it, you're perpetuating racist and sexist stereotypes. So
It's
anyway,
it's racist.
I'm leading into Varg's game, which is inherently racist, a little more explicitly racist than these others. But I'm just saying it's not an original concept. It's not like he's the first one who ever made an RPG that's racist. So here it is. Here's his RPG, My Farag. Um, it's set in the antediluvian land of Thule, which is a repository for a bunch of just generic fantasy tropes. I mean, kind of like you look at any Dungeons and Dragons type role
Yeah.
playing game. Going to be a lot of like warriors and all the tropes that make up any of these kind of medieval fantasy type things, but also adding in a dash of his Norse centric historical revisionism and neo pagan white supremacist views. It's not it's not that different than Dungeons and Dragons or Conan. And so what's interesting about the land of Thule is in Germany, occultists believed in a historical place called Thule as the ancient origin of the Aryan race. It's a term which they believed had been used by the Proto-Indo-European people. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's any coincidence He's using this term Thule. And there was a Thule Society, which we haven't actually done in a show. We should do this. Um, Originally called the Study Group for Germanic Antiquity. I'm not going to even try to pronounce that in German. Um, and it was a German occultist and Volkish group founded in Munich shortly after World War One, named after this mythical northern country in Greek legend. So
I've read
Thule
about this group. Yes.
is the
Yeah.
northernmost tip of Europe, which is Scandinavia. A primary focus of the Thule Society was a claim concerning the origins of the Aryan race. So in 1917, people who wanted to join the Germanic Order of the Thule Society had to give a special blood declaration of faith to prove their lineage. I don't think I would have gotten in.
Something tells me you wouldn't have. I think I might have been all right.
Yeah, you might have been able to make it.
Yeah.
Might have been one of the. You probably could
I
have been one of like the charter members.
I am of Viking blood, so
So now in Varg's land of Thule, you're trying to survive a barbaric Iron Age land, governed by a philosophy of man who happens to be a big fan of Hitler and Nietzsche and social Darwinism in general. Um, but yeah, he knows his history. He's done a lot of
he
research and
does.
he's done a lot of writings into it. But I think a lot of it is sort of like tainted by his toxic worldview in general. So I think it's kind of geared towards to support his belief system. I mean, you go on quests and festivals and things like that. You get married. You can have kids, and then you could have your character's child replace your character. So this game could theoretically go on forever.
Okay.
Yeah. But people have played the game, and the reviews I read said that the game design inexperience, and maybe this has changed with the subsequent editions because I think the original game came out in like 2015 or 2016. But the game was just designed really poorly. It had a shaky grasp of the English language. The tables are very poorly organized. And there wasn't even any kind of like index or guide to tell you how to really play the game. So it was just really confusing. And so one review I read said that there's a RPG called BattleTech. And so that core book is a 3-page table of context plus a full index at the end for all the terms. Varg's My Farag book is just a 1-page table of contents, no index for any of the terms. So you're kind of on your own trying to figure that out.
Right.
And considering how complicated the game is, people are just kind of lost. Like it was, it didn't. Some guidance would have been very helpful. Not to mention, the entire game is written on papyrus font. So I don't know if you've seen that, but it's almost borderline unreadable.
Oh, so it's like done like a rune type.
Yeah, but it's just like this. The entire thing is in papyrus, not just like the headers. And
You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like a total passion project where he's been probably making this game for years upon years, and then he was like, "Right, I'm ready to release it," and then he released it, and
probably
then
started in prison.
yeah, and then he released it, and everyone was like, "Yeah, Vag, can you go back and like tell us what we're meant to do?" And he was like, "Shit, I will."
Well,
So it
that's
sounds like
that's the
something to
one
me.
thing about Burzum. It's like it's all Norwegian. I have no idea what spiteful and hateful things he's spewing. I have no idea. I just like the sound of it. I think it's good. And I think he's trying to do something similar here.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
going to like thinly veil his racist beliefs with these characters, but he's still able to, espouse his white supremacy through an RPG. So listen to this. There's a wide variety of races that a player can choose from, as long as that race is Scandinavian. So there's non-playable characters that are evil that you have to kill. You can't be them. But the lighter the hair and the fairer the skin, the more blessed by the gods your character is. And higher born is superior. So nobles are naturally superior to all the peasantry in this My Farag universe. And you can use your dice to roll your character's race, appearance, and all that. And there's a chart, for every possible difficulty class. That's kind of how you do it with Dungeons and Dragons. Like you roll for all your hit points and all that stuff. Um, and the backgrounds and traits. This is kind of weird. They would be arbitrary in a game like Dungeons and Dragons, such as gender and birthplace and things like that. Actually, matter in Varg's game. So he actually pays attention to social class, religion, and birthplace.
well,
And
that
so
all did matter back then, though. And especially
Yeah,
in the
but
Middle
Dungeons
Ages,
and
that
Dragons,
mattered.
though, it's kind of arbitrary. It's like your cleric, sure, he believes in the gods or something, but you're not choosing like, oh, he's a Jehovah's Witness or, or a Christian Scientist or something. You're not choosing that. Whereas here, you can do that. And you can choose either a religious agricultural background for your character or a hunter gatherer or a magical background. Um, Now, people of Middle Eastern, my people, and African descent are also represented, but they're filthy, vulgar, poorly educated, animalistic Cooper men. Copper men is what they're called. You
So you're
can't
a
play.
copper man.
No, I think well, yes, I'm a variety of Copper Man. You can't play these characters. These are the characters that you kill.
Okay.
There are two varieties of Copper Men. There's I can't even say this, but Skraylinger, which is
Skralinger.
Skralinger, which means weaklings, and the Merklinger, which are the Darklings. So, do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, this is all sounding very D&D as well.
Well, the weaklings represent Semitic people, and they receive a bonus for their trickery. I don't know if they're depicted with huge noses, but
I
I'm
think they
assuming
are.
they probably have hook noses. And the Darklings, well, they get a bonus for spear throwing.
Oh, Varg. This is like so basic.
The copper men's lack of, quote, sunshine vitamins make them more vulnerable to poison and disease. So there you go. And they're a little easier to kill than the white people. And so it's kind of funny, and people say this about Dungeons and Dragons too, but you can definitely see in Reddit where they're arguing about this game. A lot of my information I got is from a Metal Sucks article, which is a great review. I think the guy's name, what's the guy's name? Jeff Treppel wrote this amazing story or amazing critical review of the game. Unfortunately, it was an old review, so his screenshots were all taken down. But I also looked at Reddit where people were kind of arguing about it. And one of the most common arguments, a lot of people say this about Dungeons and Dragons, it's fantasy. How can it be racist? It's just fantasy. It doesn't even exist. It's not real. Well,
It's
it's
based on
based.
something real. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Varg's not saying that black people are inferior, but the copper men are not favored by gods and they're savages. And he's not going and saying, in the game, Jews are thieves. But why did the Skrellinger have a bonus in trickery? I don't know. Isn't that weird? Why are they like, dark skin from the Middle East? They're hook noses. That's the thing. I don't think he's going to literally come out and say Skillinger are Semitic people in our world. These are the people that exist in our world and they're evil. He's not going to say that. But I think if you read through the lines, that's what you infer.
Which we can. And also, it sounds like the same for Dungeons and Dragons as well.
Well, I don't know if I don't think they're that explicit about it,
No,
but
but they are, clearly.
you know, um, it said the setting of the game borrows less from like medieval fantasy, like a Tolkien-like setting, and it's kind of more like the Iron Age Europe. And so societies are gathered into tribes. There's a conflict between the rising agricultural class and the traditional hunter and gatherers. Life's brutal and short, and the biggest threat are these foreign tribes that are coming in, these aliens are invading your homeland.
Yeah, that happened. That happened, mate. That's why how we're all here today. Our blood
But that's the
brothers.
thing. It's kind of impossible to. I mean, even if Varg didn't write this game, I think you'd think it would be racist. But knowing who Varg is and his, worldview and his belief system, it's kind of impossible to look at this game, you know, objectively. It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
be impartial when you read it. I mean, some of the tribes, RP tribes, are called Yaakov and Jibril, which sounds, I mean, very Semitic in a sense. I mean, you listen to this, it's like Jacob and Israel.
Yeah.
And the three evil cults in the game are barely disguised versions of the three Abrahamic religions. And there's even an organization you can join that allows you to remove foreign invaders by any means necessary.
Oh, why don't we just put them in a ghetto?
Well, ethnic cleansing.
Yes.
Now, this is a bit more modern here with Varg's belief system. He considers women to be human.
Yeah, he
So,
does.
that's a bit more equality there. He allows them to be as good at hunting rabbits as men. though they're not as strong, so they can't really kill the bigger game. Women can even fight in battles. They can even go to war. And in fact, there's an entire race where the men see women as equals and allow them to fight alongside them in battle. But the race has fewer females because women are weaker and die sooner than men. This is kind of funny. Redheads have a greater resistance against electricity and poison, but are less resistant to heat.
Where's he come up with that from? There's definitely an old pagan god with red hair where he's taken that.
Well, I mean, they're not that good in the sun.
That's true.
Um,
That's very true.
it's in the game. They said vaccinations are responsible for modern people having bad teeth.
I
Do you
take it
think he's
he's
an
been.
anti-vaxxer?
I think he's been to England. I think he's an anti everything. What a world. He's been to England and he's seen the teeth here and he's put it down to the vaccinations.
So while I would say this game has been pilloried on Reddit. A lot of negative reviews there. It's still somewhat of a success. And I mean, it's got I don't know what 6 different editions.
More than that, wasn't it? Wasn't it like 12 on
Well, I think they're
birds.org?
companion books, but I think 6 different editions of My
Okay.
Fair. And I mean, if you think about it, there's like I don't know sundry RPGs that exist. Dungeons and Dragons dominates the entire market, but it's this My Fair has attracted its own fans. I mean, I'm sure his being a notorious musical artist is part of it. But you can go do a search on YouTube and you can find all these people reviewing it, whether or not they're practicing some cognitive dissonance or unaware of the racism, or maybe they embrace it. Who knows? You know. But I mean, he's must have made some money off of it. Probably not a ton, but I bet you he's made some. Okay, he recently published his fourth edition, so there's 4 editions. And it is kind of funny because there's in the recent editions he's added some like positive and negative modifiers. He
Okay.
stated that prostitution didn't exist in Europe outside of Rome and Greece until Christianity came along. Added that Scandinavian honorable Scandinavian women would never prostitute themselves. He also, I think, made a feeble attempt at toning down the racism of the first editions with an introduction of a race called lesser men. So he got rid of the copper men,
And
and
now
now
they're
the
known.
lesser men. And it's a mixed race of foreign immigrants and natives. They come in all skin colors. Their intelligence, charisma, and wisdom is not as high as the noble-born European men. The higher men, but at least it's not as racist. As the hook-nosed, what were they called? Skrelligers,
Skrulls.
Skrellingers. You know, um, but it is funny though. Regardless, mixed race is still inferior to the pure races. But I think he's making an attempt here at calling them lesser men instead of copper men. The game is even has its own soundtrack produced by Vikernes, and it's the last album that Burzum did.
Oh, right. I've heard about that album.
Yeah,
Apparently it's unlistenable. But I'm not
I
I'm not saying that. I haven't released as many
when
albums as
you
Varg, so I
try.
can't comment.
I bought his last album that he did while he was in prison. So it was like the second one he did. They took his guitar away, so it was just only synth. And I bought the record, and it was like a gold record. And they're only like I think 400 printed or 500 printed. I remember I bought it at like Amoeba, like the day it came out, because I was a big fan of Burzum. I was practicing cognitive dissonance. Anyway, I bought that record, and I've just had it, and it's a terrible record. I mean, it's like video game music. And so I remember I was thinking, I'm going to try selling this. And I went on Discogs to look how much it was selling for $350 for a good condition. And mine was in perfect condition. So I
Selling that
sold it.
bad boy.
I ended up selling it on eBay for, I think I got $300 for it.
Oh, that's
Shipped
good.
it to a guy in Germany.
Hey, that makes sense.
Not surprised.
Varg
Well,
will
so
be happy about that.
a lot of these RPGs, including Dungeons and Dragons, it's open for interpretation. How, the racist views that they might espouse. Like, are they being intentionally racist? Is fantasy, the genre inherently racist?
Yes
That's
and
up for
yes.
interpretation. And, I don't know. I mean, with my Farag, I think it's more or less a product of the creator's belief system, his own worldview. I mean, you look at it, and this reviewer that I read on Metal Sucks, he goes, "It's a memoir slash manifesto rendered in the form of an RPG. It's a book that describes a game, but really, it's a book, a stupid, hateful book."
Is he
I
talking
got
about all his other books? Because he's released about 12.
I gotta say, I can't disagree with that opinion. After like reading about the game, but you know what though? All in all, and I guess this might be to Varg's credit, the game isn't an unplayable mess. According to all the reviews I read about it, it's not an unplayable mess, and it's not the worst RPG out there. There's a trinity of terrible RPGs, and I'm going to do a quick overview of these. Um, One is called Hybrid. One's called Racial Holy War. I don't think it can get any more explicit than that. And
Yeah.
the worst one, the worst of all, is Fatal.
Okay.
So Hybrid, I could find barely any information on this one. It claims to be a role-playing game, generally considered to be unmitigated nonsense. It's just a collection of like 500 numbered rules that are in a like sequential order. Doesn't make any sense. There's allusions to social and political issues, but there's not really any kind of game system there. I'm not sure if this is even a game that exists anymore.
Has anyone played this game? Like, was it on
The
Reddit? Was
official
somebody
hybrid,
saying,
well, the official hybrid RPG site and rules went offline about 10 years ago.
okay,
And the latest version is from 2003. It's from the Internet Archive.
so this is internet, early days of the internet. This is like rotten.com era.
Yeah, it's an early RPG. And it says that the game was only 30% finished, so it just makes no sense. It's unplayable. But nobody's going to stop you. If you can find it, you go play it, go see what happens. But yeah, they say it's the ravings of a racist, Marvel obsessed madman trying to find personal religion or truth through writing an RPG. Wait, is he talking about Varg?
Is he talking about Harrison? Harrison played Dungeons and Dragons. He loved it.
There's a Dungeons and Dragons group he went to.
And yeah, he did. And he loved comics. He loved Marvel comics. This is Harrison wrote. This
What
was,
did Harrison play this game?
I bet this was the secret he took to his grave. That he
Well,
actually invented this great game.
I don't think Harrison would have approved of this next RPG.
Hey.
Racial Holy War. This one is like seriously not even trying to um
Hide.
yeah, to trying to like veil its racism. It's not even trying to like, make euphemisms to represent its racist beliefs. This one's this all out racist game. Probably one of the most racist games I think I've ever read about. Do you have a picture of the cover here? Also ripped off from Hills Have Eyes. But it's a role playing game. Yeah, it's the brainchild of Reverend Kenneth Molyneux. There it is. It's a rip off of Hills Have Eyes. It's the cover of the Hills Have Eyes poster. Just says racial holy war. Reverend Kenneth Molyneux, who's a member of a white supremacist cult called the Church of the Creator, which is going to be a subject of a future Taken Wrong. But yeah, this guy actually created this role playing game. It's a low quality game that can barely be described as an RPG. It's basically, this is what they say, the tabletop version of the ethnic cleansing video game. Now, this I had not heard of, but apparently Kate Rambo has. And I think you have a couple copies that you play on a nightly basis.
I had heard of this game. Yeah, this is like total like video game and folklore. This game.
I had never heard of this one, but Ethnic Cleansing is a video game developed by Resistance Records, no less, the record label that Screwdriver's on. Um,
Ugh.
yeah, so here you go. There it is, Resistance Records, their logo. So it's the death skull.
I do miss these days of video games. Like now, everything looks so swish. It's brilliant, and like, yeah, I get it. You can be like in a film, but I do miss these days of when it's just like clunky, terrible graphics.
Well, the gameplay is exactly what it looks like here, what you'd expect. First person shooter, in which the extremely threadbare plot concerns a Jewish takeover of the United States. The player takes the role of either a skinhead or a Klansman, a fully robed Klansman, that is, who operating out of a crack house, runs through the ghetto killing black people and Mexicans before descending into a subway to kill Jews. Yeah, every time they shoot a Mexican person, who obviously this guy's wearing a poncho and a sombrero, they go, ay, 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 siesta when they die.
That's funny.
And when they kill Jews, the Jews go, oy vey.
Oy vey.
So, yeah, after killing the blacks and the Mexicans, they go into the subway to kill Jews. They eventually reach the Jewish Control Center, where you have to kill Ariel Sharon, the former prime minister of Israel, in order to win the game. He died in
Game's
20.
funny.
Yeah. Look at the next pick. It's pretty funny. So here you can see there's a Jew. He's got a Jewish
Oh,
star
it's
on.
got a Star of David on him. That's easy to see. See, I personally would have done. I would have
Yeah.
gone for an Orthodox Jew personally, with a hat
Well,
and some curls.
yeah, that's kind of how they're representing the role playing game. But yeah, I think that would have been difficult with their graphics.
Back
Uh,
then, I mean, it's perfectly achievable nowadays with today's graphics. They should bring this game back. Why not?
it's still there. In the game, black people are portrayed as gangbangers who make ape noises when they die.
Oh my god.
The game claims that these noises are recording using real life Negroes. That's what it says on their site. Mexicans are banditos who say, I'm going to take a siesta now, ay, 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 when they die. And then they come back again seconds later. And Jews have, the yellow Judah star on them, and they say, oy vey, when they're killed. And by default, the game plays a cover version of the racist band Screwdriver's song, When the Boat Comes.
That is the most offensive thing about the game. Playing a Screwdriver song at me. None of that offended me until you said it's playing Screwdriver. That's it. I'm out. I'm not playing this game now.
Not to mention the game's rather dismal with graphics and just gameplay and game mechanics in general. So they said it's difficult to move. It's hard to see the targets. Yeah, graphics are terrible. And, I actually spent a good 45 minutes, maybe an hour, looking for the game before I realized I was using my work laptop, and I was like, "Oh
Oh
fuck!"
shit.
Yeah, I'm like clearing my cache. But you can buy it. You can buy the game from Resistance Records for I don't know, like $15. I'm sure there's a torrent out there. I bet
I'm
I
sh-
I bet one of our listeners probably have it. They
I
probably
bet the graphics have been updated. Maybe there's a new Screwdriver song on
I've
it.
heard that there isn't. It's just that you can get this. There's one version of this game that's out there,
Right. So this has just been the same because this is in a Louis Theroux. You remember when he goes to the most Nazi family
and they're
in the
playing this
world?
game.
Yes.
Oh,
That's how
I'm
I knew this game.
not surprised. Well, the Racial Holy War RPG is pretty much the tabletop equivalent of this game. And the story there, it's a not very distant future. In the not very distant future, the world's about to collapse because, surprise, surprise, the evil Jewish Illuminati have made whites a downtrodden minority because
Why
that's
is it
what's
always you guys? Why do you do
happening.
this?
We control the world. It's the Zionists, the Zogs. And so we control the world. And of course, there's minorities pumping out babies. So whites have been completely replaced. And so everything appears to be lost for the victimized master race, except for a group of white warriors that come along that will cleanse the world of all the vermin and bring about a glorious white empire.
It's
Which
all Charles Manson wanted.
it's all Varg wants. It's pretty much what Varg's game is, but he just kind of uses,
Fantasy term,
like
Tolkien-esque terms.
names, like Tolkien names for his characters. The enemies all have a special ability, and they're named with a racial slur.
Here we go.
So ninjas, obviously you know the N word here, are
Yes, I
described
do.
as smelly and stupid creatures that will reduce your accuracy thanks to their body odor. Even though if you think about it, white supremacists aren't noted for their impeccable hygiene,
No.
as far as I know. Um, Latinos here, are described as lazy and criminal vermin with the ability to strike first, which sounds kind of odd because they're lazy. So why are they striking first? Sand ninjas, saying N words here, are scumbags that have declared the white race as one of their many enemies in their jihad or holy war, and they attempt to blow themselves up while killing others in the process. Um, the G word here, I guess I could say it, gooks, are timid, annoying, slanty eyed dirtbags who desperately wish that they were white. They gain extra attacks in their hand to hand combat from watching martial arts movies. The kikes are the worst and most evil parasites that the world has ever seen.
That's like
They
this
can
is like the text I send you every day.
they bribe the playable characters with Jew gold to
Yeah,
skip their turn thanks to the power of brain pollution.
this is
That's what,
exactly why I married you because you
but
bribed
you
me.
yeah, I bribe you with my Jew gold. Um Well, you know what's kind of funny when reading through this? So you get black people who, I guess can reduce accuracy thanks to their body odor. Um, Mexicans who strike first. Arabic people who can blow themselves up. You got Asians who excel
Martial
in
arts.
hand-to-hand combat, and Jewish people can trick you to skip their turn. What do the white warriors have? They sound kind of weak. I
They
mean, they
just
got
have a
their
D. What do the White Warriors have? They have their freedoms. They have their rights to bear arms, and God damn it, they have their constitution. All those things mean more than any of those other magical powers.
if they're being infringed upon by the minorities, you'd think they'd have some kind of special ability. I think this is sort of deficiency here in game planning.
They have the power of the American flag inside of them. That's what they've got. They've got Lady Liberty, D. Who's stronger than Lady Liberty?
I don't,
No.
to me, it sounds like they're kind of weak compared to. They don't have any special powers. You
No, they
know?
just have like what an M15 or an
Yeah, they
Uzi
have like
or
a
I don't
gun
know
or
guns.
the premise and mechanics of the game are repulsive. There's abilities that you can gain, like clothes making, which you make swastika shirts. There's the Holy Books of Creativity, which you can pick up, which is the white man's Bible, and that heals the white warriors by soothing and inspiring them. Weapons are either handgun, shotgun, or assault rifle. The game is obviously designed to offend and spread white supremacist beliefs here. Uh, but it seems like even the most engaged white supremacist gamer will probably be kind of bored playing it because the game is just sort of shitty.
Yeah,
Game-
especially if they haven't updated their graphics. Kids today won't want to play this.
Well, also the non-playable like the non-playable characters, the non-whites, are all superior to the white characters. So would you be offended by the game?
Yeah, and plus, like, if your character is like out there hand sewing, he's reading his little bookie work, and then these other guys are doing martial arts in front of you. Who's more masculine?
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know. I would consider this game to be a bit of a letdown. I'd go back to the ethnic cleansing game. Um, Now this next game here is widely considered to be the worst RPG that's ever been created. Fatal. Um, it's a role-playing game like no other. It was first published in 2002 by Fatal Games. The name is an acronym. Originally, it was titled Fantasy Adventure to Adult Lechery. And then
okay.
they changed it later on to what it is here in this picture. From Another Time, Another Land. That's the second edition. It has a distinction of being considered the worst RPG ever made by the gaming community. It's filled with misogyny and meaningless detail, and it's known for its graphic, violent, and sexual content, as well as the complexity of the underlying game system. It's extremely complex, actually. Reading through it, I'm like, they put a lot of thought and effort into designing this game.
So far, you haven't turned me off this game. I'm intrigued. I want to try it.
Well, you won't want to try it when you hear that the game book is over like 900 pages.
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. But yeah, it involves higher level mathematics and an unusual amount of randomization and character development. And it's acquired a very strongly negative reputation in the RPG community and being universally panned. And it's known as being very controversial. There was a review in 2003 that was on an internet on a site called RPGNet. Um, and the authors here, Darren McLennan and Jason Sarton, describe this game as the Necronomicon of role playing games. It's fundamentally broken in its attitude towards sexuality, and it's characterized by its bitter misogyny. So yeah,
So
here's the other here's the other cover for it. Fatal, not just a game, a sad cry for help. And
this
does this
sounds
say
like
therapy or
it.
something?
It just sounds like the first ever incel designed this game.
This is a game for designed by and made for incels for sure. That's a very astute observation. Um, it has over 150 occupations, 200 skills, 500 spells. Fantasy gamers have never even seen this kind of degree of detail in it. They had to actually include a CD-ROM for character generation because it was so complex. And the original version of the game here came with a few supplemental PDFs, some simple DOS-based helper programs, and an MP3 recording of the author's thrash metal theme song to the game, also called Fatal.
Amazing.
So let me play a clip. I'm going to play a little clip of this. It is pretty amazing. He's only just repeating the title. Fantasy Adventure to Adult Lettery. With my ex knocking on your door, she looks like your body parts the world as a roar. Part of shit, hacking off your limb. Someone in the background screaming, oh my god, it's him! Can't, I'm gonna say it is a bit catchy. But yeah, the game was ridiculed for its obsession with deviant sexual misconduct and predilection to treat females as lust objects, incels. Um, and it's a large element of the game, misogyny, to the point where players had to roll for such things as genital size, breast size, and anal circumference.
Oh my.
And they had to roll for like sexual preferences and practices during character generation. Many of the magical abilities and powers of the humanoid race include this obsession with genital size, breast size, and anal circumference. Um, Sex and sexuality is a heavy focus of Fatal in weird ways. There's like a whole section of rules and mechanics for rape. And consensual sex is not even mentioned at any point in the game. That just doesn't happen. And so the rules of rape are incorporated into the section on combat.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, sex is violence. The extreme sexual content is used for shock value, and there's magical items which induce forced masturbation or bestiality. Um,
That sounds fun. Why not?
there's a list of mental illnesses that characters can roll, including multiple sexual paraphilias related to rape and sexual violence. And the main writer, Byron Hall, demanded that mechanics be built to accommodate this within the game. So, in this review in RPGNet, McLennan, one of the authors, referred to Fatal as the date rape RPG. And Hall, the writer who designed the game, said, "Where's the dating? It's pretty much just all raping this game." Um, there's a broad variety of character skills and classes, including ones considered irrelevant by the majority of the role playing games. There's the urination skill, which defines the amount of urine a character can produce and at what speed. There's character classes such as delouser, grosser, and class maker. There's
Ooh.
also a number of spells that you can do, and you can gain new spells when you increase your character level. The available spells are very eclectic, mostly obscene. Some of them are included, such as against every wild animal, aquatic creature, and robbers. There's a spell called Force Fart,
You want
and
that
a
one.
spell called Bestow Ulcer.
That would be a cool one.
Here's my favorite spell: Have Her Cadaver.
Oh, I love it.
Which makes the deceased woman appear alive but unconscious. And it's described by the rule book as being used for necrophilic sexual intercourse.
Which we all know I have no problem with in real life, anyways.
Apparently, this received a bit of a negative reception here. Not surprised.
Does this
Um,
kind of feel though that maybe the writer of this game is kind of like, to use a term, he's trolling? He's obviously being very inflammatory. It's kind of like nearly like Jim Goad in Answer Me, isn't it? Where he's deliberately doing things. Maybe he's doing it not in an incel way, but doing it to just deliberately get a huge reaction.
I think this guy is definitely doing it for shock value. I
Yeah,
definitely think he released this game to be like, I'm going to be the nastiest RPG that's ever been created. And I think he's doing something like that. But I think the guy is an incel.
I
How could
kind of
you have like blatant misogyny in a game?
I kind of admire it in a way where he's like, fuck it, if I'm going to be nasty, I'm going to be 100% as disgusting and nasty as I can be. And people will remember this game forever.
It almost reminds me of the mentors of RPGs.
Yeah, I
You know,
get
it's like
that. That's
this guy's
pretty.
like El Duce, pretty much.
Yeah, that's
Um,
funny.
the game manual is was noted for its typographical errors, awkward phrasing, grammatical structures, and poorly sketched artwork that consisted mainly of nude females and penises.
I totally think this guy is like just a stoned troll guy who's like, fuck it, I'm gonna piss off all the nerds.
Well, this guy had to have been a nerd because the game, the manual, the setting, and the system were it like considered to be a 900-page long disaster. So I mean, the time and effort that I looked through the PDF. It's very complex, very detailed.
Maybe look, I'm setting up a backstory for this guy. Maybe what happened was is that he was like a huge Dungeons and Dragons and RPG playing guy. He was a super huge fan of it, and maybe he was in a Dungeons and Dragons group. And maybe his Dungeons and Dragons character tried to get with another Dungeons and Dragons character, and they were like, "No, dude, you can't do that in this game." And then they kicked him out the group. And then he went, like Ricardo Lopez, who hated Bjork because she started shagging Goldie and he decided he was going to destroy her life. This was his revenge.
Not familiar with that story, but that's interesting. You know what I'm thinking happened here is he's playing Dungeons and Dragons with his buddies, and he's just like, "There's just not enough rape in this game.
It's
I'm
just
gonna
I
make my
want
own
to
RPG with raping."
I want to rape you right now in this game. They're like, you can't do that, dude. And he's like, why not? I'm going to make
He's
my own game.
Dungeon Master question here. So I just killed her. Can I rape her corpse? And they're like, "No, you can't. We don't do this in Dungeons and Dragons." And he's just like, "Fuck it. I'm gonna make my own game."
I would have been like, well, morally, I don't see what's wrong with necrophilia. So why can't I do that in this game?
And I bet you the guy was just like, "Why don't you fuck off and go make your own RPG?"
And
And
that's how
that's
it happened.
um. So anyway, you can go look online at the flame wars and the arguments and the criticism levied against this game here. And so shortly after the original came out, he did a second edition and changed the name to From Another Time, Another Land. And they fixed a few of the typos and the errors, but I mean, it was pretty much the same game. It's not like he took away the forced fart spell
That's
or the
funny.
necrophilia spell. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's the game's been nicknamed the date rape RPG, where there's no actual dating. So yeah, there's a website, fatalgames.com. It's now a Flash arcade game site. So you can kind of go do a search for it, but I don't think you can actually find the game. I'm gonna look for it though. It'd be a cool one.
Yeah, maybe it sells on Etsy. Seems like an Etsy thing. You'd find it there.
Maybe it's probably like you could probably find it on eBay. It's probably worth a ton of money, like the original editions.
I
But
bet so.
I don't know. So there you go, people. When someone invites you over to their home to play Dungeons and Dragons, or your manager at work thinks it's a novel idea to have everybody get together and play Dungeons and Dragons, tell them you denounce racism in all of its forms. Take a stand here. Say you don't need to perpetuate the prejudice that resulted from white imperialism. You're not going to do that. You're not going to play Dungeons and Dragons. And if you were to play an RPG, you'd make a point to play one that embraces the fantasy genre's true racist and sexist origins, like Varg's game, My Farag, Fatal, or Racial Holy War. You know, not to mention if you tell people those are the only games that you play, you're probably not going to be invited to another team building event, and
Bonus.
you could possibly lose your job. So
Meh.
just keep that in mind. Anyway, Bill, this is episode 841 here, Sick and Wrong. Got some phone calls coming up next. 323-522-4032 is the number. But first, here's this.
Let me go grab a morning
You know what I
cocktail.
fucking did? I totally forgot to record the first part. I wasn't recording it on
Oh, I
audio.
thought you were going to say the whole fucking thing then.
No, no, it's from your part on. So
Oh, well, we can just do it after this.
yeah, we could either redo it or I might actually be able to pull it from YouTube.
Oh, yeah, I would just do that. Yeah, that'll be easier. Oh my God, I thought you were going to say the whole fucking thing.
I know. I realized a little too late. I'm fucking
Yeah.
off my game tonight.
Off your game, I need
Hmm. Checkity check check.
Oh, happy May Day, everyone. It's May
Made it.
Day in Britain. Yeah,
Is it May
especially
today? May
yeah, it's
1?
1st of May. I think it's a bank holiday.
Oh, fuck, I forgot it's the first of the month, isn't it?
Why?
I forgot to pay my rent.
D. Why don't you
Oh,
have a direct debit?
I don't have it like, well, I pay it through my account, but I guess I
Yeah,
don't have it. Like, what's that called? When you,
a direct debit.
is that what it's called? Direct debit? Call it something else here.
We call it.
Auto pay or something?
Yeah, so now it is May Day. I think it's a bank holiday. Is everything shut on Monday? I don't know. Because I don't have children, I never know when it's a bank holiday or not. And if like if I didn't have a regular job, because I've got a weird job where we'll go in every bank holiday, I always work it. So I never know until I get they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna get time and a half today. I'm like, fuck yes. Incidentally, because I'm not at work because of my shoulder, my doctor, this is how small Britain is was Ian Brady's fucking doctor at Ashworth. I don't know how we got onto the subject of him being a doctor in Ashworth. When he said the years he was there, I was like, "All right, so you will have Ian Brady was there," and we talked about Ian Brady a bit, and I said, "So he was on hunger strike for about 13 years, but I know that he regularly broke his hunger strike." And the doctor was like, "Well, I have signed a disclosure, but yes." I'm talking about my Ian Brady doctor.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Isn't it a small world? And he was also there for Harold Shipman. And he said everybody clapped when Harold Shipman died, when he killed himself.
How did Harold Shipman kill himself? He
Hung
hang himself?
himself. Yeah.
So did was this guy like? Did he find Ian Brady to be personable?
No, he said everyone, what you they got told to do because he was such a curmudgeon. Obviously, he's Scottish. And he hated everyone. And he would tell everyone to fuck off. They were all super nice to him because it made him angrier. So you just because you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. So you just go
What?
in and be like, "Hello, Ian. How are you today? Would you like some? Oh, I'm sorry, you're on hunger strike. You can't have any breakfast, can you, Ian?" That's what they'd be like.
I wonder if he ever got attacked.
Ian Brady, I think he probably did, but not to the.
Brady, I'm seeing the doctor.
Oh, I didn't ask that, but he said Ian Brady. He wasn't there for Peter Sutcliffe because Peter Sutcliffe had gone to jail by that point. They'd proved that he wasn't mental. He said, yeah, Ian Brady was nowhere near as mental as some of the other people who were less famous. He said the guy who scared him the most was this non famous person who, when he was on meds, was the nicest person.
What
When
do you
he
do?
was off his meds, he killed this random man and ate his liver.
Whoa.
Just
It's like
pulled it out of him, started eating his liver.
fucking Dr. Lecter.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, did you have it with Chianti? He was like, that was the joke on the ward.
Chianti.
Nice bottle of. How does he do it? I went
Nice.
Chianti.
Hey, what did you do overkill on this week?
It's a bank holiday. I did it on Doom and Death.
Doom and death. What do you mean? Like was it on
Uh,
a specific person?
Evan Ramsey.
Evan Ramsey.
Before
Oh,
Columbine, there was Evan Ramsey.
he was a player of the game Doom.
Yeah, he committed his crimes because of Doom. Eric and
By
Dylan take note.
by the game Doom to shoot up his high school.
Yeah. It is a bank holiday tomorrow. So, right, is it one of those bank holidays where everything's shut? Or is it a bank holiday where things are open? Please, Warren, please tell me. Oh yeah, those are those Nazi twins. One of them isn't a Nazi, or have they both denounced Nazihood? I can't remember. But didn't they do like a redoc with them where they came back? What was the name of their little girl band that they had too? That's a good Louis Freer. I'm gonna watch it later.
What bank holiday tomorrow? Well, you don't have to work anyway.
No, but like if I wanted to dive out and go to like Aldi and then I walk all the way there and it's like, oh shit, I can't go into
Wait,
Aldi.
your stores are closed on bank holiday.
Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. I can never work it out. It's
Weird.
a
I know
full
bank
right. Oh, everything's shut. It's a full on bank holiday. It's all shut.
holiday. It sucks.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
man.
nothing's open. Like stores aren't open. Nothing's open.
Offies will be open.
Oh, so you can get booze at least.
Yeah, but only for a limited
You have
time.
to work tomorrow? Do people have to work?
Not if you're in a corporate office job. Most people don't, but people like me do.
Oh, that's
Like
lame.
blue collars are all at work.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Check it. Check. So we got a few phone calls to get to. 323-522-4032 is the number. Or people you can email us, sickandwrongpodcast@gmail.com. Just don't send it on Facebook. It piss me off if you send it on Facebook. You really will.
Stuart.
Oh, it makes me so mad. But yeah, just email it. Email it. That's all I ask. But we've been getting some good calls lately, so feel free to call in. I know we've been asking people for injury stories
Yeah.
and drug stories. We always like drug stories. This first call though, this is great. I didn't even know she was here, but apparently, Psychopathia Sexualis did a show in Austin, Texas, and it was covered by our Sick and Wrong international news correspondent, Buffalo Bill.
Oh wow.
This is Buffalo Bill here, doing international correspondence for the Sick and Wrong podcast. I am here with Mariana Tench, a.k.a. Psychosexualis, with their first international show. How do you feel about it?
I'm absolutely buzzed. America's fucking crazy. It's incredibly warm. I feel like a swamp. I feel like a human swamp. I've eaten way too much sugar, and I could run around the entire state, I think, on the pure amount of sugar I've had. I've had 2 pint glasses of Red Bull.
Yeehaw, that's what I call a true fucking American.
A lot of Red Bull there, Psychopathia. That is one thing that Americans love. We love our sugar. We love our processed sugar.
The thing that amazed me most, I definitely said this on the Patreon, was just like the size of your fucking food.
Yeah, that are the portions of food. It's
Not just
insane.
the portions, but even when you go in a supermarket and you're like, all right, I'll get a bottle of tomato ketchup. It's like you can't just get dinky ones like we can. You're also like, no boy, you're gonna get a supersized one.
And you're in like you're going to like a regular store. Like you haven't been to like a Gordon's or a Costco. Like Costco, it's like sure, a regular store will have like a bottle of like Prego, tomato sauce. But you go to like Costco, it's like a jug. It's like a fucking 2 gallon thing.
How does it not go moldy or go off or get all gunked up before you get to the end of it
I think Americans want to put it in their bunker so they can prepare for the nuclear
for the
war.
end?
Yeah.
That's
So
wise.
is this Psychopathia's first time in the States?
No, she was talking about it on the Discord. I don't think it's her first time in the States, but I think it's like her first time there going to like do her show and like being like not going with family or anything.
She does kind of like it's like a drag show, right?
Yeah.
Like a variety kind of drag show. So that's pretty cool. They got a gig in Austin, Texas.
I think it was for like they do a whole week of it every year. But that's cool. She got invited to it. That's super sweet.
Oh, okay. So there's a week of festivities, and her particular troupe got invited out from England.
Just her as a single performer. It was like
Oh,
the whole week of like drag performers went out.
that is amazing. Next time, let us know. I've never been to Austin. It's a good
Yeah,
excuse to
I'd
go.
like to go to Austin. Great vintage shop in there.
Austin, we've been living it up. We've been eating Chick-fil-A. We've been eating Dairy Queen. The state, will you come back for a second show next year?
I'm hoping to return. I think I'll have to give my bowels quite a break after quite how much ice cream and grease I've eaten. But I hope to return if the health insurance will continue to cover me.
Hey.
Did you have intestinal distress when you got back to England after eating all that American food?
No. I was happy to see British toilets though, to see refined, civilized toilets again.
But you weren't like your gut wasn't like having troubles because of the American food.
Only on the last day.
Oh, and then I wonder what you ate.
It was the Palms Thai red curry.
Oh, the Thai red curry. Well,
It
that's because
wasn't the green curry, it was the red curry.
you pissed all over their floor. I think it
I
was.
did. I pissed all over the floor of Dee's
We
favorite
we talk
restaurant.
about we talk about in the second show, but yeah, we go to one of my favorite restaurants, the Elvis Thai place. And what does Kate do? Urinates all over the floor.
I
Not
pissed
even
all over the floor.
not even in the bathroom. It was a very
In front of all the gooners.
That grease should make everything just slide right out. As a first-hand experiencer of this, absolutely killed it. You must know that you have killed it. This is truly a first.
My motto in life is be gay and do crime. I came to be gay, and I think I just killed the audience.
Goddamn right. This is Buffalo Bill and
Psychopathia Sexualis, signing off.
signing off the Sing Around podcast.
Buffalo Bill is 100% sober.
oh, he's loaded. He's wasted.
No, I think he's the soberest I've ever heard him. He's as sober as a judge.
I don't know. God, that voice. Can you imagine having to hear that? He should go into like ASMR or something.
Drunk ASMR with Buffalo Bill.
Reading children's stories. Something like that with that voice. God. Congrats there. Mazel tov, Psychopathia. That's pretty cool that you got your own gig, your own
Super
show
cool.
in Austin, Texas. I hope you had fun. Maybe if there's a recording, post to the Discord. I want to check it out.
She has.
Oh, cool. All right, I'll think it on there. Next call we have here is Vibrato. Remember Vibrato? He called in.
Yeah.
Well, we had some questions about his. So I think a month ago or so, a few weeks ago, we played like his demo that he was sending out to pitch to get a show. And so people that don't recall who Vibrato is, he wears like a vibrating outfit, kind of, and he goes to
He's
kink shows.
he's the human vibrator.
Human vibrator. He goes to like kink festivities and things like that. Like, and goes up and vibrates on people. Anyway, he was pitching a show to like HBO and Netflix to do that, to like go to kink shows around the world and vibrate on people.
Hi, D and Kate. It's Vibrato once again. That 1 minute demo that I made is to help pitch a travel kink TV show, ideally for HBO or Netflix. That's who I'd like to pick it up. Yeah, we go to major international fetish events and have conversations with promoters, models, guests, dominatrix about their kink-related passion. Then we talk with tourists about fetish and kink, safe, sane, and consensual play, and I offer them a vibrating massage hook. The show will be a mix.
Got to slip in the massage there.
Just
Like, why not? You got a vibrating outfit on.
that's what he's there for.
Yeah, you know.
When we find a sexy and funny female co-host. Kate, how would you like to travel the world? Also, have you been to a lot of beaches and or watched the sunset from the top of Runyon Canyon? Sometimes there's this really amazing purplish glow. I think it's from the smog. By the way,
Well, speaking of Runyon, yeah, I was disappointed about Runyon because before I came over for the holiday, I was doing lots of exercise and I was like, I want to continue my exercise. And you were like, oh yeah, it's only 20 minutes to Runyon. You could walk Runyon every day. I was like, that's great. I'll see celebrities. I'll walk up there. I'll smoke some weed. No, you're not quite 20 minutes away from Runyon, are you, D? You liar.
It's 20 minutes on a scooter, but you're too scared to get on
I'm
a
not
scooter.
getting on a scooter. And no, it also isn't 20 minutes on a scooter.
Less than
You're a
20
fucking
minutes.
50-minute
Less than
lift
20
journey
minutes.
away.
Less than 20 minutes on a scooter. And if you walk fast, it'd probably be like 20 to 30 minutes. But you could scoot there, I would say probably 15.
You're a liar and you're a cad, and I'm not having it. I'm not getting on a scooter.
I don't understand why you're scared to scoot.
I've told you many times why I'm scared
Free
to
your
scoot.
mind and your ass will follow.
Yeah, as I fall on it many times.
And no, she did not go to a beach because Kate is scared of sand. She has a pathological fear of sand.
No. Again, you're getting it wrong. I'm not scared of sand. I fucking hate sand. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to be near it. It gets all over you. It gets in your shoes. You're finding it for days. It feels awful when it's on your feet. It feels physically disgusting to stand on sand. I'm not there for it.
I think she fears sand. It's a pathological fear of sand. So
Hatred.
no, we didn't really go to any beaches. But there you go. I mean, Kate, you could maybe tour the world with a guy in a vibrating outfit.
That would be fun. I would be the straight person. I would be the ones acting shocked when we're talking to the regular civilians
The regular
in
civilian.
society. Yes, about
Well,
kinks and fetishes.
you should film like a sizzle reel, and he can send this along. It sounds like would be a successful endeavor.
Netflix might pick this up. Actually, Channel 4 in the UK would totally pick this show
Yeah,
up.
I wouldn't be surprised. It kind of reminds me of God, what was that Euro show? It occasionally showed titties back in the day.
Eurotrash.
Eurotrash. That's
Oh
what
my god,
reminds.
I love Euro. He would have 100% been on Eurotrash.
Yeah, yeah,
Eurotrash was great. One of the best telly shows of all time. I used to watch that when I was 13, and I used to watch it with the sound turned down really low because it was just such a naughty show. And I was like, oh, if my mum or dad hear me watching Eurotrash, they'll know I'm doing something naughty.
Drunk dad was probably wanking to it in the other room.
We were all watching it. It was a comedy show. It wasn't like some.
Did you watch it with your parents?
No, but I bet they were watching it and laughing along. It was hilarious. It was fucking brilliant.
I just signed up for Patreon, so keep it sick, keep it wrong. I lick my balls.
Oh, well, thank you there, Vibrato. Signing up for.
Thank you.
Yeah. And good luck with the show. I'd watch it. Sounds kind of cool.
I'm giving in the tip that he should get in touch with Channel 4 over here. Would eat this shit up.
Channel 4, pitch it to them.
Yeah.
Finally here, a guy named Jamie called in from Brighton. Jamie from Brighton.
I thought you were going to say your manager then.
Oh, not that guy.
Youngsters? It's Jamie here calling from currently Brighton, South Coast Life, England. Proud member of the, what did you say, 2.6% of people who support you via Patreon.
Jamie.
Sort these fuckers out. No one as old as me. You remember back in the day when you had to just fork out money for fucking videos and DVDs and CDs and magazines, and you found the money there and you chucked it into something, and now everyone just expects everything to be fucking free. The trouble is, sometimes we can not think of it as buying the thing. Obviously, we can always get it for free. Who cares? The point is chucking in a little bit of money what the amount for like a couple of cups of coffee or something to help show these motherfuckers that we love and support and appreciate all the labor that goes into it. Obviously, they're doing it because of their own pathologies and deep libidinal desires.
Obsessions and
Narcissism. Yeah.
yeah, and a bit of narcissism thrown in there. But I appreciate the support here, Jamie. God, this guy's
Yeah,
a spokesperson.
he is.
Nonetheless, it's a worthwhile fucking thing, and I for one appreciate it. Chuck your quids in, you bastard. Um, the reason I'm calling in is because I was listening to a show from a few weeks ago, and Dee made a mention of an upcoming colonoscopy. I haven't heard mention of it in subsequent shows, so I wonder if that's
I don't know if did I talk about it on the main show or was that a second show thing?
That could have been something we were talking about on the second show, I think, because we were talking about how you were gonna test your shit, and you were just gonna shit into your hand.
No, a month ago, I went to the doctor for a physical because I haven't had one in years. And yeah, I'm getting up there in age, 47 years old. And so the guy was like, it's about time that you do a colonoscopy. And I was under the impression that they just do a blood test now. Like
I've
for,
heard that rumor too.
well, apparently they don't really do prostate exams as much anymore. What they do is they test for, I don't know, polyps via, it's either a shit test where you like give them a stool sample, and you got to do that like once a year, or you go in once for a colonoscopy, and you're good for like 10 or 12 years. So you only have to do it like one time. Um, anyway, I've been rather alarmed about having to do either one of them. Although they did just send me the shit kit, like in the mail.
A
Not
literal
doing that.
shit kit.
I'm not gonna fucking scoop up my shit out of the toilet and give him a sample once a year. I'm just gonna do the colonoscopy, and I've scheduled it June 27th.
Oh my god, mark it in your calendars, people.
Yeah, I'm very nervous about it, and I'm sure I'll talk about it.
something that's currently still brewing. I really hope that's a story that we hear in depth.
Yes. Second show.
You want to know this?
I'm hoping there's images and on the Patreon.
Images?
Yes.
Yeah. When I had mine.
Oh. Is this guy the same age as you?
He sounds younger,
He
doesn't
sounds like a spring chicken.
he?
Maybe
sounds
he
young-
just has. Over here, though, I do know like a lot of people who've had the colonoscopies and who've had the one that goes down your throat. Luckily, it's not the same tube because that would be disgusting.
one that
but-
goes down the road.
Yeah, because people use it to go and get your gut checked. But I know people who've had colonoscopies in like their 20s.
Wow, God, that seems really early. Like, did they do it just because they wanted one?
Yeah, you're going to the NHS to get your kink shamed. That's like what Schlitzy would be doing, stuff like that.
You know, when I told Kate about the colonoscopy, the first thing she said was not like, "Oh my God, that's terrible. You have to get one." First thing she said is like, "Can I watch?" And I was like, "What?" She wants to like be in the room and watch.
I think it'd be really funny. And then I would sit and watch your colon on the screen. It would look like the center, like the surface of Mars.
Would you want to see like the camera going inside?
Oh, from like that type of view. No, because I don't want to watch my favorite pub burn down. I would like to be on the other side looking at your face when, as somebody who's had anal sex and has had penises inside of my asshole, I would like to specifically look at your face the first time something is inserted into your ass. And then I would just be like, like that.
Very weird, sadistic thing to say. I bet no, seriously, it's very sadistic.
I would be laughing for all womankind at that moment and just being like, it would just
It's
be a
like
little
me-
smirk.
It's like me watching you have an abortion, just laughing hysterically.
Well, that's what I do in my that's what I do in my abortions, anyways.
Yeah, God, can I use the sump pump? This is gonna be
Last
fun.
time I was
I'm
so
not
hyped.
going to my colonoscopy. I'll just put my foot down on that.
I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to go and
by
watch.
myself.
I want to see the inside of your colon. I might like it. I might
Why?
see some things because I just think it's very interesting. I'm interested in like medical stuff. I'm not
Ugh.
going there for kinky reasons. I'd just be like,
I don't know
"There's your
about that.
colon."
The jury's out on that. Jury is out.
3 or 4 years ago now, and the images that they insisted on showing me while they were doing it, of like a live video cam of inside my own anus. was among the grossest things I've seen in my entire life. I'm there trying to just like do deep breaths, say my Hail Marys and hope this gets over as quick as possible. They keep being like, look at this, look at this. It's like, bro, I don't want to see the inside of my own fucking anus, colon, duodenum, or any of those fucking things. You know what I mean? Um, as it was, it turned out I had to go and see loads of different people because they kept being blood in my shit. Classic reason. First thing they did was they stuck this thing that's kind of like a crystal ball up my ass, and they thought, oh, it looks like it could be a tear. And they eventually went in with a colonoscopy, didn't find anything else worrying, and it turned out that I was diagnosed with an especially tight anus. So that was burst it open and now wasn't mending quick enough, so I had to have some medicine. So I have a medically tight anus that I keep telling women. Anyway, good luck with yours. Can't wait to hear the story. And yeah, I'm sure that Kate can be shaving your taint for another reason around the time of that. So nice one, big love, dudes.
Wait, do you got to shave your taint before the
I
colonoscopy?
don't know. I've never had one. I love the fact he's been diagnosed with a tight anus because it makes me think of how Steele has an extra wide piss hole. So like these two have got like the opposite problems.
Yeah, I wonder if Steele also has a tight anus.
And we'll have to again next time we've got Steele on the Patreon. I'm gonna ask
I'm
him.
sure Steele must have had a colonoscopy. He's in his 50s.
Oh my god, we should have asked. Yeah, I bet he has.
I wonder if he
You're
made
also
Dougie do it.
you're also scared to get a vasectomy. We should have got Steele to
Yeah,
talk
I
us
don't
to
want
his
to do that either.
vasectomy.
I don't like medical procedures. I like to avoid. I hadn't been to a doctor in like God 4 or 5 years up until this last time.
Until I went to go and see my Ian Brady doctor, I hadn't been to see a doctor in 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, I just tend to avoid it. I'm generally a healthy guy, but there is preventative maintenance I think that you just have to do. And a
Mhm.
colonoscopy is, I guess, one of those. I'm dreading it,
You'll
but
be
what
fine.
I'm sure I will be, but I'm like this guy. I don't want to fucking see the inside of my asshole. I don't want to see
I
the
think it's amazing you
fucking
get.
colon.
I think it's amazing that you get to see that medical science now prevails us to be able to see the inside of our own bodies. What, 500 years ago? That would have mean you were being disemboweled in front of a crowd.
I would rather go to a Renaissance fair because they're about one and the same.
Hey.
Anyway, thank you, Jamie. Yeah, I'm sure I will talk about my colonoscopy. How would I avoid that topic? I'm sure I will be talking in great length, either on the main show or the second show or both. Who knows? Um, but good to hear from you, and thanks for supporting us on Patreon. People, call the Signal hotline 323-522-4032. Um, if you haven't already, you got to go check out the second show. We do two shows. I don't know if that's a news flash for people out there, but we do two shows, not nude shows. I almost said nude. I don't know why.
Oh.
It's not new when we do the shows. But they're new. We do one new show, that's the second show, that's not new anymore. Put it this way, we do two fucking shows. This week on second show, we discussed a recent altercation that I had with a very sarcastic liquor store owner while buying a bottle of wine. I'm still pissed off about it.
Your impression of him is one of the best impressions you've ever done.
That guy really fucking pissed me off. I was trying to go out of my way to like support like the independent, like the mom and pop liquor stores, rather than going to like Rite Aid, like the corporate ones. And yeah, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna go back to fucking Rite Aid because it's easier. Fuck that guy. I'm so pissed off about it. We also discussed the details surrounding Kate's wanking injury, and we do a story about a man from Kentucky who won $500,000 after his work threw him a surprise birthday party.
I fucking love that guy.
Yeah, no, that guy is a hero. That guy should get his own
Totally.
holiday. So people definitely go check out Sick and Wrong's second show. Only $5 a month every Sunday. It comes out same schedule as the main show. Also, for a few bucks more, you get access to the Sick and Wrong Overkill, which is our bonus mini-sode. This week, Kate covered Doom and Death, the story of Evan Ramsey, spree shooter who's inspired by the game Doom to shoot up his high school. What year was that? Was that like what, 90?
97.
97. Predated.
Yeah, it did. But they were playing Doom too. Eric Harris was such a huge fan of Doom that he made 32 of his own levels, which you can still play to this day. They're called the Harris levels.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Have you played them?
I've played them way back in the day because I played a lot of Doom. Did you ever play Doom?
Yeah, I played Doom. I was just never into first-person shooters,
They're not my
except
favorites.
unless they're like involve ethnic cleansing.
Up until San Andreas came along, and then I was like, yes, now I am an official third person shooter babe. But I did really like Doom when I was younger. When I was like 15, 16, you can just get stoned, pop on Doom, and like have yourself a good time.
I mean, it was cool. I don't think I ever had that game though. But I used to play it at my brother's house all the time. Anyway, that is on Sick and Wrong Overkill. And this week, I actually spent quite a lot of time going through all the Sick and Wrong archives, mainly because I was pissed off at myself for not creating an efficient system in accessing archives. So when people used to get our archives, you'd have to download this Google Drive zip file, and it was a pain in the ass, and people were always bitching about it. So I went through and painstakingly put the first 10 years into playlists that are on SoundCloud. So now, if you go to Patreon and you sign up and you just do a search for archives, you can get 10 playlists for the first 10 years of Sick and Wrong. And I upload them also to the site. So when you buy one of the years of Sick and Wrong, you get access to the private SoundCloud playlist. So go check out the Sick and Wrong archives, the first 10 years. Patreon.com/Sick and Wrong. People, we do appreciate you supporting the show. It makes a difference.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it helps pay for my colonoscopy. Maybe I'll put the pics up. Maybe I'll put the pics up on the Patreon.
The people are demanding that you actually live stream your colonoscopy, and I must say, for the patron, I agree. Highest level patron, you live streaming.
If we hit our goal, maybe.
Okay.
Also, I added some. I've been doing all sorts of Sick and Wrong work this week. I added a new design to the T Public store.
It's
The-
here.
Finally, I made the
Yes,
Bish.
Bish. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of requests, a lot of demand here for the Bish shirts. I made it very 70s. It's BISSHHH
It
in
looks
like
cool, Bish.
70s gradient. Yeah, you can go check
Yes,
it out.
Bish.
I also added a new Stinkor design and the Satan is Waiting t-shirt that you've always wanted. So go to stickaroundpodcast.com/shop, click on the picture of the Pope, buy yourself some merch. And finally, here's Sing Along Song of the Week. Not too difficult to find a heavy metal song that has Dungeons and Dragons themes. What's difficult is to pare it down to a song you want to play. There's like, High on Fire, Manowar, Dio, Iron Maiden, all
Dio.
three bands that do, medieval type D&D fantasy music. But this one particular band that's not around anymore thematically fit in the best, in my opinion. 3 Inches of Blood. They're a Canadian heavy metal band formed in 1999 in Victoria, British Columbia. They came out with a song called Destroy the Orcs, obviously a very racist song. And it's from their 2002 debut record, Battle Cry Under a Winter Sun. Interesting thing about this band is that during the 2007 Ozfest tour, the lead singer, Jamie Hooper, who had like this crazy high pitched voice. I mean, crazy high. It was like, it reminds me of a new wave of British heavy metal, but his voice is way higher. Not as high as like Bruce Dickinson, but just this really high pitched voice. He was unable to sing with the band during Ozfest as he was experiencing throat problems. So he never actually ended up performing on that tour, and he had to quit the band in 2008 because he couldn't sing anymore.
I
So
went to Ozfest that year. Yeah.
he probably blew out his voice. And so
Yeah.
he was one of the other members of the band took over the vocal duties. And then at 2007 Hard Rock Hell Festival in the UK. Have you ever been to that, Hard Rock Hell?
No, I wonder if that's no, because Ozfest became Download, so I'm not quite sure what Hard Rock Hell was. Maybe it was just a one-off.
But the original drummer of the band, Alexei Rodriguez, got into a fight with a Saxon drummer, Nigel
Amazing.
Glockler.
Who
Uh,
won?
well, Glockler had broken glasses and a black eye.
He's an
However,
old man.
I know he's an old man too. However, security guards intervened and they put Rodriguez in a hospital with a broken elbow. I don't know how you break an elbow.
Security guys know how to break an elbow.
Well, 3 Inches of Blood were quite embarrassed. They fired Rodriguez and apologized for his behavior. replace him with a new drummer. So now, and then their guitarist, original guitarist, ended up committing suicide. So he died.
Wow.
So by the time the band came out with their fourth album, there's just no original members on it.
It's like Spinal Tap.
Well,
What's going on here?
why wouldn't you just make a new band at that time? At that point,
You would just make a new band.
yeah. What would you call it? 4 inches of blood? Just call it something else.
6 inches of blood.
Yeah, who cares? It's like it's not even the same band at that point. Anyway, they were a cool band. I got to see them live at least once. And we're going to end the show here with their song Destroy the Yorks from their first record, Battle Cry Under Winter Sun. People will be back next week with episode 842. Till then, take it sleazy.
Thanks everyone for being here so early and unannounced.
Yeah, what time is it over there?
It's like 7:38, but when we started, it was like 6. I imagine all the people in here are parents.
That are watching us right now?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Everyone's saying that you have to live stream the colonoscopy on the Patreon, and one screen should be your
Disgusting.
face, and the other should be your colon. Do you know who would do this? Tom Green.
Oh, he probably did. Didn't he have testicular cancer?
He did, but I like why not? Let the inside of the world the inside. Let the world see the inside of your colon.
Inside of my colon. I'll
I
put
think
up
it's going to look like Mars.
I don't know.
It will look like where the worms live in June.
What if a worm comes out?
Oh, imagine if there's some little worms in your colon. That'll be why you're so thin.
I'm saying, what if a big brown worm comes out? Brown snake.
I wonder if like the camera has to dodge the brown worms, or if it is like a oh no, like beep, 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 and they back up, and like I wonder if that's gonna work.
Well, you got to do all this. Like, I'm not allowed to eat like a day before.
But
So I
that's
think,
easy for you.
like, yeah, I think you have to like, and you got to take some medication to like flush it out.
Yeah, it's that yellowy stuff, isn't it? So it like coats it, like stains your insides, so they can see the polyps better.
I'm fucking so grossed out by it. The whole thing grosses me out.
I'm very intrigued. I'm always intrigued by medical stuff.
That one guy made it sound like it was painful. I mean, that's the other thing too. I don't have anyone to come pick me up. So I'm just gonna have to like walk out and call like a lift after having that thing shoved up my fucking ass.
Did you not? Will Jojo not come down and like do you a bro favor? Because Jojo will have to have this done in a few years' time.
I'm not gonna ask Joe to come down like in the middle of the week so I can get my fucking colonoscopy.
So he can hold your hand. Remember when we were in that bar in San Francisco? I was like, Joe, when do you turn 40? And he went, me. So I was like, what? Are you in your 40s, Jojo? He was like, yes.
You thought Joe looked under 40?
I just didn't think he'd had a 40th birthday. Yeah.
I can't remember what we did on his 40th.
He then proceeded to tell me, but that was the drunk night where I couldn't walk.
I think Joe definitely looks over 40. But I can't remember what we did on his 40th. And who cares?
D, where will you hide your Jew gold when they do the colonoscopy?
Shit.
Give
Didn't even
it
think about that. That is my special hiding place, so I don't really know.
Yeah. The other guy says that you can stash it on the space laser station.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dale
Yeah.
bitch.
God, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. And you're kind of like on your side, and you just
In a
have your
fetal position.
and they just spread open your ass and just shove it in there.
Yeah, that's kind of how it happens.
And it goes far. Like it goes far in there. Like a weird. It's like
a
having
snake
go in your ass. Yeah.
crawl inside of you, and then they just go whoop.
How come women don't get colon cancer?
Because we get breast cancer and fucking cervical cancer. So fuck you.
But you don't get colon cancer?
No, I think we can get colon cancer, but it's much more prevalent in males.
Oh, okay. But women would never have to get a colonoscopy, do they?
No, but cervical cancer, we have to go for smears way more regular, and it's also harder to diagnosed cervical cancer. So by the time you're diagnosed with cervical cancer, it's pretty much a death sentence.
Ovarian cancer too.
Yeah. So fuck you with your, oh yeah, I'm just gonna have a snake up my ass. We have to go and put our feet in speculums every couple of years from now until I'm menopausal.
You haven't done it in like fucking how long did you say?
No, I haven't had a smear in like 7 years because I'm scared of it.
You should be getting that done.
This has turned into a medical chat now.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I
it's
will. I will go, but it's like, yeah, I'm scared of it because I had a bad experience I've talked about on the Patreon.
oh, is that the one with the woman like pop that cyst?
No, that was totally different.
That's you got to look back on the Patreon for that, but that was one of the most disgusting things I've ever jerked off to.
I've also never told anyone that story till I told you. That was
Yeah,
my secret
it
shame.
was a weird wank, but it was triumphant. So gross. All right, people, we gotta go. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. It's been fun. It's
Yeah, I
been
hope
real.
everyone's cool.
Yeah,
If this doesn't sound terrible, I guess we'll be back next week.
possibly. We might even do Twitch.
Oh yeah, so we can do Twitch now. So we're probably going to do Twitch too.